Hello everyone, my name is Feed Alligators and welcome to another video. And today we will be comparing the JAK12 and the Origin 12 shotguns. But before we get into this, make sure to subscribe to the channel to see more Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Call of Duty Cold War content. Now the JAK12 and Origin 12 at first glance look very similar. They both have kind of short range, but they do have a very quick fire rate. But when you really get down to it, these guns are actually very different in terms of attachments, fire rate, and range. So the first gun we will be looking at is the Origin 12. Now the Origin 12 has been in Modern Warfare since the launch of the game. Now for those of you who have used this gun since the start of the game, you may have noticed that it isn't as good as it used to be. For multiplayer, it has not changed at all. The gun really hasn't gotten a big nerf or a big buff in general. But it is a different story for Warzone because it actually got nerfed as of Season 6. You may remember this as the C4 nerf, where they nerfed the throwing range and also the damage output of C4. But not a lot of people realize that they actually nerfed the range on the Origin 12 and also the movement speed with the drum magazine. And I will have to agree with this, the Origin 12 in Warzone, although it was not good in multiplayer, the Origin 12 was extremely good in Warzone. In fact, I actually get a class set up about it. Regardless of that, I am more talking about multiplayer for these two guns, but I also do want to include Warzone for the two, so in terms of Warzone, this gun really isn't that good anymore. Don't get me wrong, at extremely close range, I'd say it's actually the best gun just because of the fire rate, other than the JAK12, because obviously the JAK12 has the faster fire rate. But let's get back to multiplayer, and in general, this gun has never really been that popular. The only time it really actually got popular was when they re-released Shipment for Modern Warfare, and a ton of people just flocked to use the 25-round drum magazine, including me, because it was actually really good because it was extremely close range, and it had the most ammo out of all the shotguns, along with the fastest fire rate. But of course now, although we all like Shipment, I personally like Shipment, and a lot of people kind of don't like it, but because it was new, a lot of people were playing it, and now a lot of people have just moved over to playing Shoot House 24/7 instead of Shipment 24/7. And honestly, it's not really that good, because in Shipment you could run it as a primary, but really in any other scenario, you just have to use it as a secondary, because it has no range. And this is a massive downside for just really any gun. If you only can use it as a secondary, that means you have to run Overkill instead of running Ghost or another useful perk. Don't get me wrong, on some of my classes, I do use shotguns as secondaries, but that's only classes where I have a sniper. Normally, I'll run the SPR and then the sawed-off double barrel. I'd say the Model 680 and the 725 are really the only shotguns you can run as a primary, just because they have a good amount of range. And also, I do run the JAK12 as a primary just because of the fire rate and also the amount of ammo. Speaking of the JAK12, let's talk about the JAK12. The JAK12 was added mid-Season 6 and is unlocked by getting, I believe, hipfire kills. I don't know the exact thing, but I believe it's a certain number of hipfire kills in 5 different matches. It has a lot of ammo through attachments. Start, you only get 8 shots just like the Origin 12, but you can get a 32-round drum magazine and a 20-round drum magazine. The one downside of this gun is the very slow movement speed and ADS speed, and also the trigger delay. For those of you who are watching this video and want to look into using the JAK12, I would highly recommend pre-firing because of that trigger delay. So essentially the gun is open bolt, so it takes a little bit before you actually shoot. Another downside to this gun is the range. Stock, the range on this gun is not very far. It is slightly further than the R90, and the R90 has very, very limited range. Now, with that being said, even though I said it does not have a lot of range, it actually has the third highest amount of range out of all the shotguns in the game. The Origin, on the other hand, I believe actually has the second lowest amount of range, only passing the VLK Rogue. Another thing to talk about is, I'd say out of all the shotguns, just because of the very slow movement speed, you can really add a lot of stuff onto this, and even though you will have a very slow movement speed, you will have an absolute tank of a gun. For instance, my favorite class to run involves the biggest barrel, the Torrent barrel, the Forge Tac Marauder, which is essentially a giant monolithic suppressor, and also a 32-round drum magazine. I will be the first to admit this gun is insanely slow, but you have a decent amount of range and 32 shots at your disposal. I am going to get into the final verdict soon, but before that, let's talk about my 2 favorite class setups to run. My favorite class setup to run on the Origin 12 is Choke for the muzzle, the Impaler barrel, the TAC laser, no stock, and the 25-round drum magazine. Now, my favorite class to run with the JAK 12 is the Forge TAC Marauder, the Torrent barrel, TAC laser, the Tsunami stock, and the 20-round drum magazine, although I do occasionally switch to the 32-round magazine. For the final verdict, by a long shot, is the JAK 12. The JAK 12 just has more range than the Origin, it can carry more ammo, and just in general is more powerful. While you could argue that the Origin is a lot faster, if you're going for mobility, just use the VOK Rogue or the 725 or even the Model 680. My problem with the Origin 12 is it's just an average gun. It's not the fastest shotgun, it does not have a lot of range, and now it doesn't even have the fastest fire rate, so it's just really just kind of there. But with that, we will conclude the video. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment anything down below, such as what you thought of the video or future video ideas. And as always, I will see you all next time.